Good morning. Welcome to EduSet Network. Friend, as you know, we are having discussion on broadcast journalism. Yesterday we talked about in detail how TV journalism works, what are the essential qualities of a reporter of our TV journalism, and how the whole activity is carried out. Today we will focus more on the television production. And when we talk about the production, there are three areas of production in television journalism. One is the field production, the other is the studio production, then OE production. We will talk about in, all these areas, and we come to know the various activities carried out and what are skills required for that. And for discussion on this very topic, we have a studio eminent media person, Dr. S.R. Chari. He is presently professor of journalism, looking after PG diploma course in radio and television journalism in Indian Institute of Mass Communication, one of the premier institution of the country, which gives training of the media personnel. And I will like to tell you here that the Professor Chari is, has produced a generation of media personnel. The person who you see in the various news channels working at top position is has been a student sometimes of Professor Chari. So his experience of teaching experience, and also he has worked a long experience of working in the All India Radio and the TV news, and covered the news event from various countries like Germany, Moscow, Lusaka, Maldives. So his experience, long experience and knowledge about the broadcast will help us to understand this topic. So on your behalf, I welcome him for EduSet lecture on this topic, television production. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Amrendra. Today we are looking at production part of it, which would mean you will have to have a very creative mind first. This is a skill which involves a lot of thinking, creativity, and of course, if you are in the news business, you also have to be a journalist, a bit of a journalist. And if you are a documentary production, you'll have to be well versed with the issues. And if you are into production of entertainment, then you'll have to be equally having in-depth knowledge. So when we are talking about production, that does not mean that you are just having to have skills only and not knowledge. This is very, very important, that you need to have a very, very deep insight into what you are producing. Only then your creative abilities can flourish. So now let us take a look at the television production part of it. To begin with, as has been said, television production involves either you produce in the studios. Like you see this picture, there is a television studio of Doordarshan, and you can see that there are lights on top of the ceiling, which are called the lights, which are soft lights, different types of lights. It's called a catwalk or a grid, where the lights are there, because without lights you cannot see anything. Even the camera cannot see anything. So how the lights are, it's a very great art. The lighting directors who decide how lights can be put so that the images which you are seeing, the people you are seeing, the subjects you are seeing in the television studio, whether their aesthetic appearance, all their clarity with which you can see them, so that there are no shadows, all this will depend upon the creative lighting aspect in the television studios. Similarly, you must have seen there, the most important thing is the cameras which bring the pictures to you, like you are seeing me through a television camera. I'm here and you are able to see me because there are lights on me. If I was in totally dark, you could not have seen me. Even the camera cannot see. Now the lights are put on like a subject like me. I'm in the television studio and the camera is capturing me. And then because of the proper lighting, then we will go about and see how the lighting is done, that we will be able to see the camera captures the pictures, and after the camera in the television studios, there are a large number of things which you will see that, like what do you have in the, one is of course the equipment and the people who work. There are two things, the technology and the skills. So now first you will find the equipment involves a television studio cameras. Obviously, the most important thing, there could be 2, 3, 4 cameras in a television studio. These cameras, and then you have studio lights, then the sound. You'll have to listen to the people or performers that just comes through or news anchors. Microphones are there. Then there are studios also designed to look good. There are studio sets are there available. You will find that depending upon if it's a news set, it's a very formal sets are there, and the news. And then there could be as things like huge plays, drama, theater, or performers, music, all have different types of sets depending upon the kind of program which is being aired or being shot in the studio. Now, apart from these television studios sets, you also find there is something called a cyclorama. If you have noticed, the whole background of the television studio has a complete circular or semicircular background, which makes it possible for cameras to take shots so that there are no angularities of a walls meeting and all that angularities are not there. That is called a studio backdrop, which is called cyclorama or simply the cyc. These days now we are also talking, since we are talking about sets, television studios, many of them may not have all the sets. There may not be nothing there. This is what we call virtual sets. The new type of technology, the television cameras which are now put, the entire thing is shot and electronically create those images like sets, and you can make the person feel that the person is sitting in a huge palace, or you can be sitting in a television studio with lots of monitors, everything in the background, or whatever you want to have a background. All that can be created through virtual sets. That's another area which we can talk about. It's a way that a lot of virtual sets are being used by many television channels for producing, and particularly you will find them all in this elections scenario where you will find all those graphs and things like swings, and all these are also shown. They're also shown by the virtual sets. Now, having told you about this kind of equipment which is there in the television studio, now let us take a look at, we said about lights. Lights are also used very creatively. A very bright light makes everything look very chirpy, happy, and nice. If you have a program which also has to show a little, probably a theater or a drama where there is a subdued, some kind of a sadness is there, then you will put the lights a little more subdued. You can make the lights also play the role of mysticism, the kind of whatever emotions you want to create, all that can be created through lighting. How the lighting is done is very important. There is in fact, a studio you'll find a lighting director who also does this lighting and tells you how to go about it. Then, of course, the cameras are also placed at different. Suppose if there is even a single person like me talking to you, can be taken with 2 or 3 different cameras. There can be different angles. I can be shown in a medium shot. I could be walking up, trying to demonstrate something, which could be shown by a different camera. Like that, you can have 2 or 3 cameras in the studios. Now, these studio camera persons, the studio cameras itself are very different. They are not like the field cameras which you see, not as simple small cameras. Normally, a television studio cameras have huge viewfinders. That is, you will find that the picture can be seen by the camera person in a big screen, so that he or can adjust the cameras very nicely. Then secondly, the studio cameras are also have much higher resolution, number 2, and also the studio cameras have tripods, the stands on which they are kept. They are very, very expensive camera tripods, the stands on which they are mounted, and these equipment which can be mounted on that, so that the cameras, if they are moving in the studio, they can move very, very smoothly. That unlike in the outside, in the field, normally you find that the news coverages, etc., the cameras can move around, even if little jerk is there, doesn't matter if you are covering the Prime Minister or the Minister or even a news event, the cameras are carried on the shoulders. But if you are shooting documentaries, or if you are shooting something like a play, then of course, or even movies, if you've seen that, the cameras which are there on the field also, they are put on tracks and they move, and or they could be on jimmy jibs, or which are like cranes and all that. They will also make them very smooth. So the cameras mounting on tripods, that stands, or cranes, or on tracks, all this is very, very important, and it gives you a creative way of shooting the video in front of you. So having said about the cameras, then of course the microphones, they're very, very important. You want sometimes the microphones should not be seen. The microphones can be put on the table stand, like in my case, a microphone is there, which is a flat microphone, which still is not coming on the shots. But there can be sometimes if you want to use a lapel microphones, which are put on a shirt collar, they're also possible. And sometimes you can have boom microphones, which are held on top, so that the people carrying sound the microphones follow the performers or actors in a theater or in an interview, walk the talk. You'll find a person carrying a microphone. Maybe you can be following the interviewer and interviewee. So these are all possible. So you take care of the sound, a good clarity sound, a good picture, an interesting creative way of making the video. So having said all that, now let us take a look at, if you are taking, as I said, 2 or 3 cameras in the studio. If you are shooting with the camera, so many cameras, now the first thing to ask is, now let us take this, look at this picture now. Take a look at this picture, sorry, this one. If you have a studio and you have 2 or 3 cameras, and all cameras will probably have different way of focusing, white balancing, color, the colors are all could be slightly different. So you see this is a control room. All studio inputs, cameras come into different preview monitors. You will see the television screens on the top. All these are preview monitors. Each camera, whatever it is showing, comes into that monitor, and then the engineers who are there, they check and try and adjust that all cameras, the colors are actually matching, and the shots are matching. So this is called camera control units. Each camera will have a camera control unit on the production control room, where they adjust the quality so that you will not feel any difference between one camera, what it is showing, and the other camera, what it is showing. So there will be no difference, 2 or 3 cameras. So that is how, and each are seen by the various view monitors, preview monitors, and eventually, as you know, you can only see one shot, which is finally coming. If you are all among this is a final output which you can see. So see, if you're seeing me, you can see me through 3 different cameras. If they're all adjusted, the color of my shirt, my score, my tones, my skin, everything will be matched, so that you will not find any difference. Whichever camera is taking my shot, a long shot or a close shot, or my walking and trying to demonstrate something, all can be seen similarly. And then these shots, finally you can see me only doing one thing, from one camera. That is the final output monitor. So you have so many cameras. The control room is there. Control room where you have, how this is done is by doing some kind of a live editing. All 3 inputs, as we saw, monitors are there. There is a person called technical director. The technical director has a video switcher, a switch which can switch from one camera to another camera. So if he wants to take my mid shot, he'll take one. He'll press one button with the switcher. The switcher will shift to that particular shot. If he wants to camera follow me, trying to demonstrate something, he will switch to that camera. So the cameras can be switched on a video switcher, and this is actually how he would do, the technical director. And then after that, the technical directors also have lot of other technically adjusting the tool, like for example, he can create a window behind my back. If I'm a newsreader or news anchor, you will see that the windows come in the back, which also have some kind of a graphics. He can generate graphics. He can take live inputs coming from somewhere outside. If the tennis match is going on in Wimbledon, So he could always cut to the Wimbledon match or the Indo-Australian cricket match series is happening, ODI. He can also go to the master switch room, which also has a preview monitor, and this also can be brought into the transmission program or recording whatever is happening at that place. Now let us take a look at the TV studio control room. We have, I said, we have camera control units, we have preview monitors, we have switchers, we also have video tape recorders, because if you want to record the program and not transmission directly, we can have video tape recorders. We have audio consoles where the audio is adjusted so that the levels of sound are matching all over. So there is, and then I also told you master switch room, which can bring video from different places. Then there is also character generators. If you want to super a name or put an Aston, that is what is a person's name. Like it's me, Professor S. Raghavachari, but my name can come on my picture so that people can identify. Apart from all that, there has to be a management of the studio end and the control room end. There has to be a talkback system whereby people wear earphones are attached to the cameras. They can listen to whatever is being said, or the shot, if they the kind of shots which are required. So these are instructions to the camera persons. There could be instructions to the news anchors also sometimes, not to read something, delete something, or speak something else. All these instructions also come through earphones, which they put on the ears. That's called EP. The EP is also given to the news anchors who are constantly, while they're reading, of course they're not disturbed very often, but something very important happens, an emergency happens, they'll have to be told. Also, while opportunities are seized, when you have a video running or as an interview is going on, quickly you ask the news anchor, cut off his or her microphone and give the instructions how to go about proceed in the next part of the bulletin when they come on the air. So this talkback system is also very, very important, through which you can control the whole, manage the whole floor as well as the control room. Now, there is another very, very crucial person called the floor manager. That person is there in the studio who coordinates the entire floor. That is, he can physically go around, tell people how to, whether there are news anchors, he can tell them to accelerate, go faster or slow down, or if there are any problems happening, he can pass on the additional information through pages or character generators or whatever happens. He can handle any situation in the studio, can be handled by the floor manager, who uses his own symbols, signals, and symbolically by actions, gestures, he can communicate, because without creating any sound, any disturbance in the studio. So that man is called a floor manager. We have a very crucial person who is in the studio. Now, getting back onto the whole production process. When we are talking about a production process, who are the professionals? We have already talked about the equipment and the technical persons, the camera persons, the floor managers, the lighting directors, all this. Now there are also the professionals who have their own very, very crucial role in the production, in the studios. Let us take a look at this list of the people, the professionals and their role. Firstly, you have in the television studio what you call the person who delivers the whole program. He is the producer or the director. Sometimes the designations are similar. The producers and the directors are the ones who have the entire concept of the entire program, how the whole program will go about, how that's all the planning, everything is done by them, and they direct the whole show. And these are very crucial persons, and they have ideas, they have imagination, and they are the ones who take the shots, call for the shots. In fact, there is also a different language these producers use in the television studios, because when they are talking to the camera persons and other people, they're also, what they're doing is they're using cues and commands. They cannot be saying, oh, please put the camera, take the person, go closer to him and take him and adjust the shot such that he is in the middle of it. All that cannot be said, because by the time he said, the shots are, the action moves on. So there's a brief language which is like coming to one, zoom into one, pan one, like that. So the camera movements, shots, the shape and size of the shots can be decided. Go to a long shot, go to a medium shot, like that. MS on camera 2. This could be a brief language which is used by these producers and directors who are on the panel. These producers, directors are normally assisted by assistant producers or production assistants who are sitting with them on the panel, and they actually help them. They have the logs, they keep the record of what is coming next. So while the producers concentrating on what is happening in front of them on the cameras, in the studios, and then directing and guiding the camera persons to get their shots, and telling the video mixers and the audio consoles where they want the sound up, the sound coming down, or music to flow in the background. All this they are controlling. The assistant producers or production assistants keep supplying them what is coming next. So the assistant producers are equally important. Then apart from that, of course, we need script writers. If it's a television news show, we need editors who write the entire news script. The anchors perform there, but the television news script has to be written. That is what we call television news editors or script writers for programs who write the entire script. There could be theater activity where the dialogues are written. There could be a program or could be an announcement for which the announcements are written. So all these writers are present. They are very, very crucial people. They know the language of broadcasting, how to write for the visuals, how to write for the announcements, how to write for news anchoring. All that is very specialized jobs of these writers, and they know the language of the television. So those people are called script writers. And then apart from that, who else is there? The television studios. You'll find the news anchors, the talent, the performers, the actors and announcers. All of these people are present in the television studios who provide you the communication process for the programs. And of course, as we also discussed, the technical director is there to use the switcher or use electronically, control the whole production process technically. And then you have audio engineers, you have set designers, and you also have makeup artists. These are very important before the program production starts. All these are talent people, performers, anchors. All these people require normally a makeup. A makeup, probably I don't use makeup because it's only an educational program. So, but then makeup is good. It's not for making a person look pretty or more beautiful, but the makeup is required so that the light gets reflected properly on the person face. Because what happens is the light gets reflected not uniformly, where there are little grease, a little sweat, little whatever. So the picture can get distorted. So to avoid distortion, a smooth lines so that you can recognize the person, how he or she looks. So a nicely done makeup will only make the contours of the features of the person come out properly, so that you can see the person in very clear light with all their features prominently, and also avoid any saturation of light, reflection or other things from the face, so that it could be possible that somebody has a little soft, skinny, oily skin, light may get reflected and patches of reflections are there. So all that is avoided in good productions by using makeup artists. And makeup artists are also very skilled people. So having said that, now we have, let us look at that was about studio production. All these people will make you possible. Now let us take a look at the television field production. This looks a little more simpler. You have an idea and you have to create a script, and then you have to create a program. So let us take, for example, a documentary or a program which is shot on a camera. Here we normally don't use multiple cameras. It could be a single camera production also, but of course you can use multiple cameras in the field also. But normally a single camera production where a person goes out takes shots, and then comes back, edits the program, and then polishes the program with special effects, etc., so on and so forth, to create a nice, good documentary or a feature or a television entertainment program or a soap, whatever. It need not be produced in studios, it could be produced out in the field also. Similarly, news clips are also shot on the outside. The news anchors, P2Cs, all that packages are shot outside and brought and done in the editing tables. So here we are talking about field production, where the people take the cameras, they are field cameras, they're much lighter than the studio cameras, and they have their stands or the tripods are also much lighter than the studio, and probably they can be carried much easily by the camera person and their assistants, the reporters. They go out for the news programs. All this is carried out in the field. Now, let us take an example of a program. We want to make a documentary. Then somebody wants you to make a documentary, let us say on the windmills or solar energy or any unconventional, or that new topic of the department saying that the whole Western Ghats, this is all the news, the Western Ghats should be preserved, and the government wants you to make an environmental friendly film. Then what happens? So if it is the Rural Development Ministry or anybody who's asking you for a program or a private program or a public sector undertaking, so you have to do the program, you have to listen to the ideas. Same as if you are doing a news clip, what is the angle to the story? You have to, it is briefed by the editor. The editor briefs you what should be the angle of the story, what visuals he will require, what sound bites he require. Similarly, when you are doing a television programs, you require to understand and get the client's brief and the program idea, then how to visualize, what sources you have to do. This in a documentary is much more complicated, where you create a mind map by trying to have discussions with various people, and then you create a structure of the program. Then of course the program proposals are prepared if it's a field based program, and in the field based programs the proposals are submitted to various television channels if they are producing the programs, or the director, that how the proposal is made. It has to have a title, it has what are the objectives served by the program, and what kind of a format is the program going to have, whether it is going to entirely shoot a single camera production, or it's going to have an interview format in between, or it's going to have a discussion format, or it's going to have a talk show format. What kind of a program is going to be there, and what is the program treatment going to be, and what are the production methods you're going to use. All this is discussed in a proposal, and the proposal will be put out when like the production method would mean whether you want to so many days of shooting in the field and then coming back and editing it. You are probably putting up whether you are taking up sound bites in between, or you want to enact some people, or you are using an anchor to conduct the show. All this is decided how you treat the program treatment, and the format of the program could be featureized, it could be documentary based, actual facts and fact based, or it could be a simple field based talk show, vox wops, that is you small interviews taken of people, collect them together. Normally like a budget program, when a budget is announced, you go out and collect small interviews from housewives to students, shopkeepers, and so on and so forth. All that could be put together, joined together, and make into a program. That's one. So the formats are very important. The feature format, documentary format, interview format, or the chat show format, all these are very important, how you use them. And then you also have how you're treating this whole thing, and then of course all this production method. Then the more important thing is now how do you, all programs, you will have to have a budget for the program. It depends upon how much money the organization is willing to spend, or the individual is likely to do. Then that preparing of a budget of a program is very crucial, which many people don't pay attention to. But then you will have to, if suppose if you are given a certain amount of money, you will have to spread your requirement of your personnel, whom you are going to hire, whether you're going to hire very eminent anchors, or media anchors who come little lower priced, or actors who are how they are priced, when they could be the value of the actors and performers could be ranging very high, and whether you can travel to go get the interviews. If it's a current affairs program, whether you can really go down to places like travel to different cities to get the sound bites, or you are likely to get sound bites only through telephone or satellite links, which would be less expensive. All that has to be done about the personnel. Similarly, about the equipment and facilities, whether you're using single camera or you're using a 2-camera shoot with mixers on the ground, on the field, this is also depends upon the budget you have. If you have more money, a single interview can be shot with 3 cameras in the field. Or if it's a person if the person you are interviewing is a tennis player, you could take shots on the tennis ground while he's playing. You can interview him while showing his shots, walking around with him in the tennis court. This all would require 2 or 3 cameras shoot, which is a very good thing. Visually, it will be very interesting, but it's going to cost you as much money, because you're going to use 2 or 3 cameras, and then you're going to use switchers, and you're going to have people, so many more people, and the whole thing traveling will also cost you money, because you're going to hire bigger vehicles, vans, to move around. Or you can just be doing a simple 1 camera, but just going around, cutting down costs depending upon the budget. Then of course you need to have the script. You have to develop the script. How you develop the script is also an art. And then you do the research, background, and then you write to the visuals, and the kind of visuals which you plan. You do the recce part of it, reconnaissance, and trying to say where exactly you would like to shoot. All this is there in the field production. You will have to locate location. So you have to find out the locations, and then these locations have to be identified, and all this will save expenses, because you're going to have. So while preparing budget, as we said, the person is important, the equipment and facilities are going to take, the talent, art, sets and graphics if you require to make, the makeup, the music, if you're going to create music, or we are going to ask musicians to perform, special music tracks are required, or you can purchase music, miscellaneous transportation fees, etc. And then you'll find preparing a budget will be post-production, personal facilities, tape stock, all that contingency, tax. Then you can create a grand total, which gives you the final budget of the program. So this is how you have to have a budget, you have to have the technical facilities, and then you need to have the talent and performers. All this is when you decide on this will give you a good field production. A very well planned field production will cut down a lot of expense. So that is where a good producer, director, who's making programs in the field with a very, very meticulously planned program, where he has taken permissions required for everything. He has arranged the locations, and he just has to go there and come back, shoot, and his talent and everything is organized. He would be a very efficient kind of producer, and a much sought after director, producer in the industry, if he or she has a good ability to an eye for all the minutest details of the planning of the program. This is how we do the field productions. Now let us take a look at, apart from that, do we have anything? We have this post-production editing. Finally, when we finish the program production, we have said everything minutely details and very efficiently produced. The program can be enhanced in its value by using something called a special effects. See, a program can be polished and made much better while you are at the editing tables. The editing tables, you can have a lot of scope for having many special effects, like you could create different visuals, or all these kind of visuals techniques of creating wipes, dissolves, mixes, and a lot many more inserts can be put onto the visuals, so that they're making more attractive, and any glitches which are there on the angularities, glitches, or those can be removed while you are doing the post-production part of it. You have, that also depends upon the amount of time you have for doing post-production and also the budget you have for producing the programs. And finally, I would like to tell you that there is yet another kind of productions, the mega productions of television. You see this picture, which is of Commonwealth Games produced by Doordarshan. And this Doordarshan, that was one of the very, very big mega event where, I mean, thousands of people were accommodated in that Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, where the program, so many cameras were used. It is a production, it is really a challenge to cover such a huge ground with so many athletes and all these people covered from different angles and a variety of shots. That is requires a huge amount of planning. So these mega productions involve a very, very different type of talent, and there may be several producers are involved. And firstly, in these mega productions, you require camera placements. Where do you put the cameras? There has to be a huge discussion goes on to see where the camera, for example, this athletics event. If suppose there is a track event where the people are going running in a track, where do you put the cameras? How many cameras would you have? There are a certain minimum number of cameras. There are a lot of work has been done, a lot of theorization has been done. Like say for example, if there is a track, then you will put, this is a huge dome actually. There are cameras hanging from the right on the rooftop. There are cameras on the ground. There are cameras in between, which can suddenly take you to the ground, the minutest detail of the tracks. Now, if there was a tracks which are happening on the ground, you will find there is people require to put cameras on the ground to cover the athletes at the finish point where the people are touching the tape. But at the same time, in an athletic track, you need to put a camera which is slightly high, about 10 to 15 feet high. Why? Because you cannot see the tracks from the ground. They're all merging. So if you put a camera at a little height, that camera will be able to see the tracks separately. Now, let us take a look at yet another very interesting thing. This is a cricket match. We're all very fond of this cricket match. Interesting cricket matches are covered, and normally we use about 20 to 25 cameras for covering a cricket match. If you want to use this kind of this is a cricket ground, there is a pitch in the middle. So if you have to use a number of cameras, firstly you will have the pitch on either side of the pitch. The people are now bowling, batting. So at least 3 cameras are kept on either side of the pitch, which you have seen, so that the person who is bowling can be seen, the entire action, and the person on the opposite side, cameras can capture the batsman. So we use 3 cameras because at the different levels, so that one camera can capture the long shot, which gives you an overview of the bowler, and second can cover the action of his bowling arm, and the third is actual delivery. Similarly, there are cameras required on the on side and the off side, that is on either side of the studio. You can see that the cameras have to capture the ball movement, and if the shots are taken, cricket of the batsman, it's a shot that the cameras have to follow, and all this. And now the shot which you are seeing now of the entire ground is not from the ground. It's at a very great height on the top of the cricket ground, and from where it's probably at a height of almost 25-30 feet, so that you are getting the coverage of the entire ground. You can see an overview where you can see the audience, the people who have come to watch the match. You can see the ground and the entire the broad overview. It's a top angle view, sometimes which is also called bird eye view. This is what is required by you have some cameras doing this. Then you will also have cameras for individual players, like probably like a wicket keeper requires sometimes a camera, and then you also have cameras in the field several places, so that on either side of the field, so that you can capture the catches taken, concentrate on the catches taken. So that's how the whole camera distribution planning itself takes somebody who can understand the game very well, and also not only understand the game very well, but also know the nuances of the game itself. Like for example, if a ball is coming, it's turning on the offside, where would the normal batsman, if he's a right-hander or a left-hander, where the shots will go, at least expected, so that he can alert the cameras on that particular side at the particular field. These are all, this is for the cricket. Similarly, for any, if you want to do a dance or music program, you should understand the dance, where the particular dance, if it's Kathak, whether you are concentrating on the feet movement, or if it is Bharatanatyam, you are concentrating on the mudras, or if you are on the abhinaya, if it's a Kuchipudi, then you are concentrating on the facial abhinaya or the expressions, facial expressions. So the person has to understand all aspects of the event so that he or she can plan the cameras in a particular manner and train the camera person who, or at least alert the camera person so they can get the best shots for the viewers who will appreciate such a production, only because the producer, director understands the event, whether it's dance, whether it's music, whether it's cricket, or it is a mega athletic event. So these are the understandings, very, very important. And then of course, when we have this kind of a OB production, there's huge amounts of money involved. These are all mega events. It's not the job of single persons like that, although one person may be overall in charge of everything. There are a large number of producers who are involved in this, and there's a huge amount of technology involved, and a huge amount of delivery systems involved. So this is all being done by the what we have, mega events. And these events, next time when you watch even a Republic Day event which happens, or it's a local event which is, you will understand the positions of the cameras, where the cameras have been placed, from where they are taking the shots, whether it is on the top of the India Gate, or it's on the down below on the ground, or in front of the president's saluting base. You will be able to understand where the camera placements are placed. In the studio, a similar thing is called a floor plan, and in the outside, it's called camera placements. These are all very, very interesting, creative ways of doing things. You will realize that there are a lot of books have been written on, particularly in the sporting events. If you look at the sporting events, every sporting event has a standard fixed camera positions, like two or three. For example, if you have a tennis, you have a court, you have a diagonal cameras kept on either side, and also one for the on either side for the players, and also one for somewhere in the middle for the umpire and the shots which are moving around. The three camera positions are very fixed up, but you can use additional cameras to make it more interesting and diversify the shots which are available. So this is how you will have to think. And next time when you watch anything on any sporting event or any cultural event or even a theater play or whatever you're watching on television, even the news when you are watching on the television, you will see there are so much variety of shots. Some channels come, the first shot comes from a Jimmy Jib or a small crane, which brings the whole shot from top angle to the news anchor. And then it is cut to another camera by using an introductory medium shot, like that. So if you just watch and start noticing, you yourself can develop the art and craft of how to take shots, how to place cameras, how to use them for taking good shots. So we have now by and large now covered how the mega events are covered, big events. We have also covered our television studio, like this small studio where we are now covering, I'm talking to you, this has been covered, and the anchor moderator who's sitting next to me is also taken by a different camera. How these cameras capture the frontal shots, or they can capture profile shots, or these shots also can be covered, as we said in the journalism class, we have talked about over-the-shoulder shots where the interviewer is taken from the shoulder so that the interviewee is available right in front and the back of the interviewer is there. So the different types of shots can be used, and all this comes as a production technique for these mega productions. And studio or field, you have to plan and do these productions.
Okay. So you talked about in detail what are the activities we carried out during the production. But still there are chances to, because the human error is, when will come to how to save, yeah, how to overcome such human error, and what preparation one should have in hand so that they can put in between the two shots and all that.
Yeah, that's a very good question actually, because you now raised a very crucial point. How do you prepare to avoid errors? That's very important. Now, for this, we have in television studio production, because we are spending a lot of money, and then so that the errors don't happen, what we do normally is, firstly, there is something called a pre-production exercises. Like, there are several ways of doing rehearsals before the final production takes place. If it's a big production, it's like any entertainment program or a soap, or which you can see on television channels, the kind of programs. They all do first something called a blocking, and which would mean that they block the areas where the actors or performers move on the floor. Their all floor is marked out, and so that the people can move from which place to which place they have to move, and the camera persons practice the shot, taking it that this is how the shot will move, this is the act, this is the performer will move. So all this is memorized shot by shot, and they will they sequence by sequence they shoot like that, and then blocking, then rehearsal, then the full dress rehearsal, and then finally they go for the take. So all these preparations are used so that the mistakes are not happening there. And apart from that, even as the producer sits on the panel, concentrates on the already practiced, rehearsed shots, even then there could be a possibility of a mistake coming from shot to shot. So to avoid that, the assistant producers or the production assistants, they're keeping a very keen eye. And then if you go to a very big productions which costs huge amounts of money, and big theater studios are involved, where the studio time itself costs a lot of money, there they make the camera cards also, where every camera person is given what shot is now to be taken, what shot is coming next, and the next, and all these camera cards are prepared. The production assistants or assistant producers keep track of every shot which is coming after another, while the whole producers concentrate on the creativity of the what you are seeing on the preview monitors, and they are calling for the shots into production. So that's how we try and take errors, keep them at a minimum.
Right. You talked about the various talk. You were talking about the profile sort of the soldier sorts. So students understand what the name of the sword, but they fail to understand which sword is to be taken when, and when is to be used. So can you explain?
That's that's also a very important thing, because the entire creativity lies in that. Yeah. Some basic standards are already written down theoretically and captured, and many of the books will give you an idea of where to use what kind of a shot. Okay. For example, a very long shot. And a very long shot is normally called an introductory shot. An introductory shot because it establishes the location. When you take a long shot of a person, then you know the person, which location he or she is there. The person is not so important. We know that there is a lady who probably she's walking in the garden, so we know there is a garden. Or if a professor is sitting in a library or reading in a library, so you know that he's a professor and he's in the middle of a books or something. An advocate could be in its chamber. A scientist could be in his laboratory. So the long shots establish the location, the context in which they are, the performers or the persons are there. Similarly, when we talk about other shots, like when we come to a little closer shot, like a medium long shot, then we are actually cutting down the surrounding of that person and concentrating, coming down to the person's own presence, whether how he or she is dressed, whether the person is wears a normal kurta pajama or as wears specs, or is a young boy who wears jeans and t-shirts, or a young girl who is westernized or wears a salwar kameez, more of a conservative national dress. So all this dress part of it comes to medium long shot when the person we are looking at. And when we come to medium shot, when you come closer, the person, then we will see that the person's features are more important. There actually the shirts, dress and all that is not becoming less important. We are coming closer to the person, and the person, we can see he or she, how she looks, what are their features, and we are now looking at the frontal shot. The person's features become very, very important. As we still closer, then we actually looking into their feelings and issues. Very, very close shot, big close-ups or close-ups actually are, even they say that they are going into the mind of the person, what they are thinking, how they're talking about. Like suppose somebody is saying, I remember in my childhood, and you come to a very close shot, then you look like as if the person is, you are actually entering into the realm of what the person is thinking and what the person is looking at. Sometimes very close shots are not really advisable, because particularly whether, say if you have, unless of course it is required in the scenario, you could be an older person with a lot of wrinkles, and it may not come out very well unless you want to show that it's a program talking about the person's age. Then probably it is relevant, otherwise not so relevant. Maybe even if you have makeup and whatever, close shots can reveal a lot of blemishes on the skin, and the person, so they could be a little more angular unless you are trying to emphasize on the particular. So these are the basic shots on which you are looking at. And then there are, of course, when you use a pan shot or a zoom shot, I mean, there are different ways why we use those shots. If you are using something like a camera, zoom in and zoom out. This is another interesting thing. A zoom is something which we goes close to the person, and the person the picture starts occupying the whole screen. So picture gets enlarged. So this is useful when you are trying to identify the person, like you are, mostly the zoom in and zoom out is used by birthday parties or people in the family using non-professional cameras in the household birthday parties or wedding scenes. Why? Because they want to see the person a little more close up. But this could be very irritating when we are using them on a professional broadcast situation. Unless, of course, that zoom has a meaning that you are trying to go closer to the subject. And normally, a very attractive shot to go closer to the subject is called a track shot, where you put a track and the camera moves physically closer to the object, thereby giving you the perspective of what is around you, and as you keep, like a normal person as he walks towards the subject. If you are walking towards a fountain or a monument, so how you feel the whole area around you changing, the surrounding change. So the track shots are very, very important. That's why you will see commercial cinema, movies and all that, they use more of track shots than use the zoom shots. So this is how they use this kind of shots. And likewise, you said over the shoulder. Over the shoulder shots are important because then it also establishes the two people talking to each other, and at the same time, the more prominent person who is the important interviewee or the person who is an expert, he or she is seen all the time, so that when they are speaking, what are their facial expressions, the body language can be seen very clearly. Whereas the person who is interviewing the interviewer, his or her expressions are not so important, because those are the people who are just asking questions and trying to get the information from the expert. So the experts, not only by using the over shoulder shot, we are not only getting the expert's views and points, but also seeing how his body language is, whether he is feeling involved into that certain things and all that. But also communication exercises, which are very, very important. So these are some of the shots, and for every shot which you use in a television scenario, all shots have definite meaning and with different creativity, and you will have to actually, this is the producer's prerogative, that he or she plans the shots, whether it is panning or tilting or zooming or tracking. All these shots are planned with a lot of creativity, and even using of the crane is used. A lot of creativity is involved. So all this is used for a particular specific purpose, and that's how you will enrich the whole program and make the communication a far more powerful exercise using this medium of television.
Okay. Now you said that how to use the camera. So sometimes we see the angle when we want to show the dominating, then the shot be taken from the below, yeah, or the other thing. So what is the role of angle and
Of course, that like it's very important. Like, see, like in that shot which I showed you on the cricket OB, there is this shot there. It was the. You can see that when you take a camera from a very top angle, then the object before you looks very small actually. I mean, psychologically you feel it's a little smaller object. It is like the students and the teacher stand on the front of them and the student looks at the teacher, he looks like a little exaggerated kind of subject. From sitting below and you're seeing the person. For a teacher who's standing, the student looks a little smaller boy who's looking at.
Yeah.
So psychologically that kind of feeling is there. And similarly, this is used by camera angles. If you normally you see in a film or some commercial cinema, you will find that when probably there's a small accident. Let us imagine a small accident between a hero coming on a bike and a truck. So this normally when it happens, you will see that first shot of the truck will be taken from some balcony or some place where the truck looks like a normal truck coming on the road, and that it's going to hit the bike, the hero. But as the shot comes closer, then they put the camera down on the ground, which makes the truck look a little bigger because it's now taken from the ground. And when actually the accident is about to happen, then they will put the camera completely on the ground so that the truck looks like a giant tank coming and hitting the person. So the camera, as you raise the angle, lower the angle, the object becomes such a big monster or such a small little toy. So this is how you use the camera angles to and make the subjects larger than life or smaller than life.
So do you suggest that whole exercise need to be prepared, planned well, so that one can communicate what they want to communicate?
Absolutely. So that's what I said. Production is a great creative art. So there is more art than simple skills in this technique.
Okay.
So the craft is there. The craft you must know, but the art part of it is far more important if you really want to communicate or produce a good program.
Okay. So, well, friends, as you heard, the creativity is very important in any television productions. So, keeping this in mind, I hope you have learned the various things which are involved in television production. We conclude the lecture. I thank all of you for watching the lecture, and on behalf, I thank Dr. S.R. Chari for giving such a wonderful lecture on this topic, television production. Thank you very much.
Thank you.